This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Rigo Villa. I'm one of the community managers on the Cisco Learning Network, and I'll be your host today. In this session, we're going to be covering what's new in Catalyst Center 2.3.7 with our two speakers, Chris Pollard-Thomas and Bruce McCurdo. But before we get started, I wanted to share a couple of quick housekeeping notes. First, if you have any questions during the session, we ask that you please post them in the question and answer panel as displayed on the screen here in front of you. This will help our panelists manage, keep track of all of your questions and would also allow them to provide you with a much more timely response. Also, if you experience any audio streaming issues during the live presentation, I do recommend using the call-in telephone number that I'm going to be posting in the chat window here in just a moment. This will also be an interactive session, so we are going to be launching a couple of poll questions using Slido, and when it's time, you're going to see the Slido pop up on your WebEx event screen, and then you'll have an opportunity to submit your answers. So we look forward to your participation. Also, at the end of this event, you are going to get a pop-up survey with a couple of questions about today's presentation, and we would really appreciate it if you can just take a moment to fill it out and share with us any thoughts or feedback that you may have about today's session. Last but not least, I want to let our attendees know that this session will be recorded and will be available on demand. I'm going to post some more information about how you can access the on-demand recording a little bit later on in the chat window as well. And without any further delay, I am now going to turn it over to our first speaker to get us started. So Chris, if you're ready, please take it away.
Yes, thank you, Rigo. I appreciate it. Let's get some PowerPoints rolling. All right. So I assume everybody can see my screen. So today, as Rigo mentioned, we're going to be going over some new features and enhancements that are in Catalyst 3.7. We're going to dive into things like the enhanced visibility and control features, things that allow you to gain more control over your device, etc. So first poll question of the day, what version of Catalyst Center are you currently running? So just curious. The Slido is being pulled up as we speak. So please go ahead and answer that. We just want to get an idea of kind of where everybody is sitting at this point. So if we can watch some of these. So it looks like we can watch these live. We have some people, including myself, but you can ignore that don't have Catalyst Center installed, but it looks like 48% are currently running 2.3.7 right now. So we'll let that run for a few minutes more just to see kind of where we stand. Looks like that's good. We don't have anybody running 2.2x and below, so that's a good sign. Most people are 2.3 and above, but we can kind of see that live as it's going. So, all right, so let's move on. So like we said, it looks like vast preponderance of people that are in this session are running 2.3.7 as they speak. So let's talk about some of the things that 2.3.7 is going to bring to the picture. All right, so we're going to talk about this from 4 different personas: the NetOps, AI Ops, Security Ops, and DevOps. That's kind of how we're going to break down these features so we can kind of discuss them depending on what persona you're approaching using your Catalyst Center from. All right, so first is NetOps. So in 2.3.7, we've added the ability to support in Catalyst Center third-party devices. And this is only if they meet the SNMP MIB2 standard. You can see in the bullet points there the visibility that you're going to get with those for a multi-vendor network. We understand that you're not going to run everything Cisco. We wish you would, as much as you could, but we understand that that's not always going to happen. So we give you the ability to see things like discovery and inventory support, device uptime. You can see things like the interface status. And you can see in the screenshots on the right-hand side, you can see, for example, we have a Palo Alto firewall in there. So one thing I want to note is these are not supported by TAC. So you will have to contact the device vendor, or whoever your support provider is, if you have questions related to support for those devices. They will now, though, show up in Catalyst Center, and we wanted to make sure that you had visibility to those within your dashboard. So, you know, again, they have to support MIB2, that RFC 1213, you know, we just want to make sure that you get a big overall picture of everything that you're looking at. All right, so now we can talk about, you know, taking control of your network configurations, this visibility and control. So one of the things that this will allow you to do is preview your configuration. You'll be able to see what is going to change in your configuration before you actually deploy it. You know, we've all been there where you make a change, something happens that you weren't expecting. Now with this change, you can see what's going to happen, what's going to change in your configuration before you actually push it to production. And it will actually, you know, like I said, it will let you preview the CLI and the netconf that is using in your operation. So you also can view the changes. It's not just about the commands. You can understand what impact those changes are going to have. Catalyst Center will let you view the configuration details, and it'll actually highlight what's being added, modified, or moved. And this will be available across most of the Catalyst Center workflows, from things like provisioning to ICAP. The other thing you can do is you can submit for approval. It has direct integration with ServiceNow, the ITSM. So before any changes go live, you can send those configuration previews for approval. And this makes sure another set of eyes can look at it and help you streamline that change management process. And the last thing that this provides you is the ability to see the status and know where your configurations stand. And you can track those right from within the tasks menu. All right, so now also in 237, we're allowing day zero templates for the Catalyst 9800 devices during onboarding, which wasn't available before because of potential configuration conflicts. So this will allow you seamless integration and allow you to avoid overriding intended configurations. So there are two safeguards in place with this. There are real-time conflict warnings for these 9800 devices. So this will provide you immediate feedback to make sure that there aren't going to be any issues before you deploy them. The other thing are intent warnings. These are generated during the plug and play claims process and when applying the template. And this makes sure that you don't have any unintended configuration changes that may conflict with what your overall network intent is. So both of these warnings will allow you to look at, you know, review and modify these configurations and make sure that you don't have any issues when you're using those day zero templates on your Catalyst 9800s. So I will say this is supported on the Catalyst 9800 wireless LAN controllers only. All right, AVC and QoS. So we've worked to simplify the setup for the application visibility in QoS on wired devices. So now when you're onboarding devices through plug and play or assigning them a site, the features will automatically activate if they're enabled for those sites. Before, the configuration involved, you know, multiple steps. You know, we've tried to streamline it now, so you know it's within the site assignment process for those switches, helping to hopefully make this a better experience for everybody and allow the application data and policies to be more efficient. So we've also enabled netconf during the day zero PMP. So during the greenfield process, this will simplify device onboarding and allow for better telemetry collection. During the PMP claiming process, netconf and AAA configurations will now automatically be applied as part of the day zero setup. They can be previewed. The configurations can be previewed in the preview configuration section that's on the summary page, you know, at the end of the PMP claim workflow. So this is the netconf day zero support is available for the switching platform, just to be aware. All right, so that was a lot of information. Now we're going to move to the AI ops part. So we have updated the event analytics dashboard. we replaced the chronological listing that everybody was used to before, and now we have an enhanced view. And you can kind of get an idea of what that looks like, in front of you on the screen. So what the dashboard now will do is give you a heat map that categorizes and displays the syslog messages by severity, and will also allow you to track wired and wireless network event reachability transitions. So this should help your network administrators. Oops, sorry about that. This should help your network administrators understand all the data that's coming in, and will also give you those AI-driven insights, into what devices are the most relevant. So you do need to make sure that you enable event analytics under the AI analytics part, and it will require an Advantage license to do so. Third-party device support for assurance. So again, we're supporting third-party devices. This will allow you to monitor and troubleshoot them directly from the overall network and Device 360 dashboards. So by default, they're categorized under a core device family, and any issues that you have related to these devices can be viewed in the issue settings dashboard. Like I said, you can see an example of what this looks like on the screenshot that's on the right-hand side of this slide. All right, security apps. So we now have a new user interface for SD Access. This is the standard now. We're hoping it's more simplified and more intuitive. You get a new virtual network view that will show the fabric dependencies, and it will correlate VNs with components like SGTs, IP pools, and subnets. You also, with this interface, you get the ability, you get feature separate pages that allow you to configure fabric sites, virtual networks, and transits. And each of these has an overview and table view. The fabric site overview page will also give you tips and insights, and also progress updates on your workflows. The goal here was to streamline network deployment and management to give you, the customer, a better user experience. LAN automation enhancements. So we have a new simultaneous LAN automation feature that will allow you to initiate up to 5 LAN automation sessions concurrently, or 1 per site. This enables you to do zero-touch onboarding of PnP-ready switches at multiple locations, which will hopefully allow you to speed up deployment of fully automated routing under your underlay networks. We know that your IT staffs are working, a lot of times with limited staff, so we're trying to make things as easy as we can for you, to allow you to make as much progress and get as much done efficiently as you can. So there's a dedicated landing page that simplifies, this workflow. And one thing to remember, though, is that simultaneous sessions within the same site are not supported. And each session requires distinct seed devices and LAN IP pools. All right, so we also have added an SD Access compatibility check. So this allows you to, in Catalyst Center, to ensure that the fabric devices are running compatible versions for SD Access. What it'll do is it'll automatically download the compatibility matrix, where it also allows manual uploads for air-gapped environments. And it supports various fabric roles and will check new devices added to fabric sites, zones, or transits. The goal here is to help you maintain SD Access compatibility by identifying and reporting devices that are running non-compliant images. So we're trying to be proactive here to make sure that you have smooth network operation and you won't have any potential issues caused by incompatible software versions. You have enough on your mind. Let's try and take some of that workload off of your plate. All right, last but not least, we're going to cover DevOps. For all of us that are fans of APIs, we've added some new and enhanced APIs here. You can see some of these in the list. We've added ones related to compliance, configuration archives, device onboarding. You can see a devices API right there, for example. We've added event management, LAN automation, new assurance events. We've added site-related APIs, which also you can see right there on the list, system settings, and users and roles. So you can see these are just 4 examples or 4 different types of examples of APIs that we've added to hopefully make your life a little easier. Now it's time for another poll. So what features are you currently using in Catalyst Center? So these are your options. Rigo will pull up a Slido. While he's doing that, make sure if you have questions, as was mentioned in the beginning, make sure you post them in the Q&A. We have sub-panelists that are in this session that can work to answer those as we're going along. We'll also have a time, as Rigo mentioned at the end, to allow for live Q&A, where we can, Bruce and I and the other panelists can do our best to answer your questions. And understand, though, if we don't have an answer for you right off the bat, we can follow up with you in the post-webinar discussion. I don't know if you've had a chance to pull that up, Rigo.
Yes, yeah, we do have the poll question. It's active now, and I can actually see that the answer on the lead right now is actually Assurance Event Viewer. That's got currently over 60% of the vote, and then next in line here we have PNP with about 49% of the vote.
Excellent. Not overly surprising. Assurance is one of the first things that people leverage when they install Catalyst Center, get an idea of what their overall network health is. PNP following a close second. Not sure what your opinion is on that, Bruce, but that seems to track pretty well with what we commonly see. So, all right. So let me share my screen again. All right. So next, I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands of my partner in crime here, Bruce McMurdo, who is going to show you live some of these new features, so you have the ability to kind of see them and not just hear me drone on about what they should look like, but you actually get a chance to see them live. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to let Bruce grab the screen sharing from me, and I'll leave you in his capable hands.
Thanks for that, Chris. Now, before we get to Catalyst Center, I wanted to quickly show you how to get the software version, the software you need, and also how to check that you've got the correct version. So you can see here I'm at cisco.software.com. I'm at the software download for Catalyst Center, and the thing I want to draw your attention to are these stars here. These indicate that these are the versions that are the recommended release for Catalyst Center. If we hover over this star, we'll see here, if I can get it to pop up again. Yeah, so Cisco suggested release based on software quality, stability, and longevity. What that means is that the 237 release is going to be a long living release. So if you move to 237 now, you'll be able to continue running 237 for the best part of a year before there's a strong push by Cisco to get you to upgrade to the next version. So this is a long-lived release, and it doesn't get the star until the BE, the business entity that releases the software, believes that it's stable, that it's got the bug fixes it needs in order to be stable enough to run in production in customer networks. So 2377 is the version that you should be downloading and running for your Catalyst Center today. All right, now let me jump over now to Catalyst Center, and let's see what version I'm actually running in the lab. And it's not 2337, but it's close. So you can see I'm running 2375. So we're on the 237 release train. So that's the main thing. We need to make that incremental upgrade to 2377 to get on that recommended release though. All right. So we're talking about the right release though. This is what's new in 237 and we're on 237. So the first thing I want to look at is that application QoS policy that Chris talked about. Let's go up here into policy, application QoS. Now here you can see I have a QoS policy defined. It's being deployed to 2 sites. All right. It's called Bruce test. I wonder why. Now, the important new feature here is this deploy by default on wired devices. And what that means is that whenever a new device gets assigned to one of the 2 sites that has this QoS policy assigned to, those new devices will get this QoS policy applied to them. Okay, so you avoid the situation where you deployed QoS to these 4 devices, you know, at one point in time, and then later you add devices and you forget to put this policy on it. This way, when you assign to site, the new devices also get that QoS policy. So that's the first feature that Chris talked about. Let's move on to the visibility and control. First of all, I'll show you where that's controlled from. So we go into System, Settings, scroll down here into System Configuration, and we see Visibility and Control of Configuration. This checkbox is on by default now, and there's a description up here that tells you what it means, but the upshot of it is that you're now, when you go to deploy any new configuration in your network, you're actually forced to review the configuration changes. So you'll see the CLI you have now and what CLI you're going to change with that. Okay, so that's the configuration preview. The checkbox we don't have checked because we don't have ITSM or ServiceNow integrated in the lab is ITSM approval. And that would dovetail nicely here too, because you could say, all right, here's the 5 lines of configuration I'm adding to my network devices, and then submit that to ServiceNow so that the approver could see the configuration changes and approve or deny it as part of that deployment workflow through ServiceNow. Okay, so that's the configuration preview. You turn it on here. I can imagine in some circumstances having to preview every configuration might become tedious. You could turn it off if you had a set of configurations you were rolling out, and then turn it back on when you were finished, as need applies. Now let's see it in action. What I'm going to do now is go into Provision Inventory. I'm going to choose this device, my border, and go into Device Details. I'm going to change something here, all right? And then after I've changed this configuration, I'll try to deploy it, and we'll see the need now to review that configuration before it's deployed. So let me select a port. I'll go in here and edit that port, and I'll put a switch port description. See how quick I can type? All right, now I'm going to save that switch port description. You can see it here now, right? Switch port description. This is the port I edited, 101, and we have that string of text I just typed in there. All right, so now let's see what happens when I deploy it and how I'm required to review this configuration update. All right, see, I can no longer, this is grayed out. I can't deploy it. I can't provision it now. I can't provision it later. First, I have to generate the config preview. Go into next, checks a couple of pre-checks. And now it's going to create that configuration preview. It takes a little bit of time while it generates all this. Generating it now. And in a second we should see that change, right? Here's the change. That interface 101 now has the description that I typed in. Okay, and here's the running config. How do I check this interface? If I click on the change I'm making, it'll jump me to the running config, the portion of the running config where that change will be applied. So I can see now Ethernet 101 does not have a description, and that's the change I'm going to make. Okay, now I could go ahead and deploy that, and in the next step I'll get do you want to do it now or do you want to schedule it? But I'm going to just discard that change for now and move on to the next demonstration. Though in the next demonstration we'll again see this configuration review requirement in real life. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go to templates. So if you've done templates before, you'll be used to going to Tools and Template Hub. It's moved. See, it's not here anymore. It's going to redirect me, or I can click here to go there directly. So this is the new location for templates, and it's now called CLI Templates. Now the location, Design CLI Templates. Let's have a look at that. Design CLI Templates. You'll notice that in the same design category we have network profiles, and that's because this is a key change. We can now tie the CLI templates to a network profile, and I'll show you why that's important. So let's have a look at a template. Now remember the name here. The name is 9800. That's a wireless LAN controller model number, so it's a wireless LAN template. All I'm doing here is adding an HTTP server. All right, so 2 lines of config change being performed with this CLI template. Now, the interesting thing that we have here in 237 is the ability to attach now the CLI template to a network profile. And we can see it's attached to a network profile that's of type wireless and name wireless profile. And this profile has been attached to all 13 of the sites in this network. So let's go and have a look actually at that network profile. So if I come here and network profile, remember the name of it was wireless profile. It's type wireless, 13 sites. Let's edit it. See the SSIDs, standard stuff, SSID name guest. We'll see this again in a second. SSID name enterprise network. AP zones, model configs, all the normal stuff. But we've got this templates tag here. And this, remember, that's the name of my template, 9800. And we can see the device types that it will be applied to include the 9800 wireless LAN controller. All right, so we know now that this template, this network profile called wireless profile includes this template with those 2 lines of code I showed you, and that's been applied to all 13 sites. Okay, so let's go and deploy a wireless LAN controller and see that these 2 lines of code in that CLI template get applied. So where's my wireless LAN controller? Here it is, but let's say I couldn't find it. I'll just filter here, and I'm filtering now on wireless LAN controllers, makes it very easy to find. I'll select it. I'll go Action, Provision, Provision Device. I'm going to go through. You can see here it's already been, so this wireless LAN controller has already been provisioned. It's already been provisioned to site 1. So the configuration we're provisioning with, it already has. The only new configuration will be that CLI template. So let's go configuration. There's some AP treatment here. Next, model configuration, also known as feature templates. There's nothing in this instance. Now, here's my advanced configuration. Here's my CLI template. It's going to be applied to this device, and there's no variables in the template. So, if there were variables, it would be my opportunity to enter the variable value per device. Okay, so let's go next. Here's my summary. Here we see the SSID guest and the SSID enterprise network. These are coming from that network profile, just like the CLI template did. I'll go next. And again, you see the now or later is grayed out. We have to generate the configuration preview. Let's do that. I know about this compliance issue. It's benign. Next. And now we're generating the CLI preview. So we'll see what's currently running and what it is that I want to change. And what I want to change are those two lines that I talked about before. There we go, the HTTP secure server and the password. In this case, clicking here will not bring me to the corresponding place because this is all new configuration. It's not updating anything in the running. It's adding these two lines to the running config. Okay, but hope you see here how the CLI template was attached to a network profile. And then that network profile, when I provisioned the wireless LAN controller to a site that profile was associated with, it picked up the CLI template and configured the two lines that were in that CLI template. And we get to preview it here because we set the visibility control in settings right at the start. Okay, so I'm going to discard out of there. And we'll go and have a look at some of the SDA changes. All right, so I'm going to go back into System Settings, and this is an external server. This is a external service SD access compatibility matrix. So I click on that. We can see this is enabled. Okay, what that's going to do is every day it's going to check for a new compatibility matrix. This is the file it currently has. It's valid as of February 28th, and yesterday it skipped because there is no update to it as of February 28th. Okay, so what we're doing here is every day we're checking to see if there's a new SDA compatibility matrix. Now, if you've got an air gap deployment, you won't be able to go out to the cloud and do that automatically every day. You have to do it manually. This link here will bring you to the compatibility matrix. You'll then be able to download it to your local device and then import it from your local device. Okay, so you can still get it in to Catalyst Center. It's just a more manual process that you have to remember to do periodically. Okay, so what does the compatibility matrix do? If we go here back into inventory, we'll put in the focus here to inventory, and you can see compliance, right? So now for any devices that have a SDA role, the compliance will check to see if the software version for that SDA role is compliant with what's in the compatibility matrix. So just make sure that you're running the right software versions when you deploy SDA. Quite an important aspect of an SDA deployment. Now, speaking of SDA, let's go and have a look at those GUI changes that that Chris talked about. So we go in here into provision, fabric sites. And here we see the new GUI, and this is much more informative, right? And workflow oriented. So what we see here is we went into fabric sites. Here's a description of what a fabric site is, and here's like a workflow. Click here to create a fabric site. When you do that, you'll see the provisioning task as that site's being created. You'll see in real time the progress of that creation. And then when it's finished, you'll have a table here where you'll see all of your fabric sites. Same thing with virtual networks, right? And we can go through this sort of workflow here where we learn what a layer 3 virtual network is. We can create one. We learn what a layer 2 virtual network is, and we can create one. So more information, more guided workflows. And again, you've got your provisioning down here. You've got your tables that are showing you all the networks that have already been created. Now, this is a new GUI, workflow driven. It's made to be much more intuitive and helpful for you to deploy your network and get it right the first time. There are going to be some people that are like, resistant to change. So while they're getting used to this, the old version is still here, right? So you can still, sorry, I clicked in the top right hand corner, this table view, and you've got the old GUI for SDA. And if you click here, you go back to this new SDA workflow-based GUI. Okay, so that's the SDA changes. I'm going to jump over now and talk about those API changes that Chris also covered. So that's under workflows. No, it's not. That's under platform developer toolkit. Okay, so we'll load up here. Now, Catalyst Center is becoming, API first platform. So the intent is that anything you need to do can be done through an API. Now, we talked about those version 2 APIs. I'm going to have a look at those. Chris talked about the fabric site count. So if we scroll down here, like that, they can be pretty hard to find in here, but I can filter through. It's know your network, down here sites, and here I find get site count version 2. And actually really what I wanted to show you is the get site count down here. You can see here it says sunset, right? This is the original version of the API for get site count. Now, when they needed to make a change to this API, they didn't want to change this because it would break any existing scripts that are currently using the API. So instead, they created sort of like a parallel API, get site count version 2. Okay, so this has got the changes in it, and now you should be using this one. But if you've already got programs and scripts using the old one, they're not going to break straight away. Hope that makes sense. So let's have a little look at this get site count API. Now we can see here it's got one parameter. You can feed it the ID of a site that you need to that you want to get the subsites from, but this parameter is not required. The response you'll get, if it's a good, if you're successful, you'll get a response with an integer. That's going to be the number of sites and a version. If you're not so lucky, you'll get one of these error messages. Okay, now you can have a look at the code. Now, the default language shown here is Python, and here's a code snippet that you could take and reuse in one of your own applications or scripts. Now the key here, this will work, but you have to substitute the XOR token. So you have to, before you can run an API on Catalyst Center, you need a XOR token So the way you get that is you authenticate to Catalyst Center with your user ID and password. Then you get a token that can be used for the next hour. So now you can run multiple API queries reusing that token. So that's how that works. We see here the Python code. If we look here, you can see there's lots of other options to get other programming languages, code for those. Okay, so that's a lot of talk about this API. Let's try it out. So here we could add the parameter if we wanted. It's optional, so I'm just going to run. And here's a response. So we've got 14 sites in this Catalyst Center. So that's what we were expecting. And yeah, that's how you use the version 2 APIs. With that, I think I'm going to wrap it up and hand it back to Chris, who will wrap it up. All right, over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Bruce. That was very comprehensive. That I think that hopefully will help all the people that are attending kind of know where to go and what's there. And it's a little bit easier sometimes to see it live than to hear somebody rambling on about it in PowerPoint slides. So that being said, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint slides. So let me share my screen. Share. All right, so again, thank you, Bruce, for that. So just want to go over some key points to remember. So the compliance check tool helps to identify and remediate unauthorized configuration changes on network devices. There's a new template hub, as Bruce pointed out. It's in a new location, so make sure that you note that. The goal is to improve the management of those templates and also help to detect the conflicts between them. You can now do multiple LAN automation, to help maybe alleviate some of the tasks that you have to do or speed up your processes. And then, as Bruce covered last, we have some new APIs, some that were sunset but not taken away, and some new ones that hopefully give you more capability of what you want to do. So that's really all in terms of content that we want to cover. Let me hand it at this point back to Rigo. He's got some live Q&A that I think he wants to talk to us about. I know Casey and Julio have been busy answering questions in the Q&A in there, but I think we had some live Q&A that came in that Rigo wants to go over. So,
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris and Bruce, for that excellent presentation and demonstration as well. I'm sure our audience really enjoyed that. And like was just mentioned a few minutes ago, so we want to use the rest of this time to cover a couple of outstanding questions from our audience. And I do see a couple of questions here that we have that we can cover here. First question is there a way to change the VLAN name in the fabric?
That's a good question. Bruce, are you aware of that one?
Not off the top of my head. I think that's one we'll have to get back to you in the post seminar chat.
Right, and I think actually Julio or looks like Julio or Casey is working on answering it as we speak. So I think that one should be answered momentarily.
Awesome. So we'll jump to the next question here. The one that I see is, can I add any third-party device to Catalyst Center?
So you're only allowed to support, you're only allowed to add those third-party devices that support the SNMP MIB2. And as I covered earlier, remember that the support is limited to some base automation and assurance features. And device support itself, obviously, is not going to be supported by Cisco. You'll have to go back to your original vendor for that, or whoever handled support for that device. But yes, they are covered as long as they support that SNMP MIB2.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Another question that I see here is it mandatory to use configuration preview?
So if the visibility component is enabled, which is the default value, then yes, configuration preview is a mandatory step.
So that's enabled in system settings. So you can turn it on or turn it off as required in system settings. It's recommended to leave it turned on so that any network administrators applying changes have to review those changes and make sure they're the changes that they actually intend before applying them. But if someone's doing the same change to 50 switches, it could be tedious looking at that every single time. You have to wait for it to be generated. So in that could be an instance where you might want to go and turn it off, make your 50 changes, and then turn it back on at the end. But it's a very handy thing to leave on, I think.
That's a good point, Bruce.
Awesome. Thank you both for that awesome answer. And let me see what else we have here from our audience. Another question that came in just now is, what about support on iOS-XR devices?
Let's see. Do you have insight into that, Bruce?
Not XR. No, sorry.
No worries. We can as was mentioned earlier, we do have a post-webinar discussion thread. So any questions that we may not have addressed here, we can gladly answer in that thread after the session's concluded. So in looking at the questions here, I do see one more outstanding question that we can address before we wrap up. And so that is, how long is the data on the event analytics dashboard accessible?
So the event data is retained. The event data retention has actually been increased to 60 days. We wanted to make sure the users had greater visibility into that. So to answer your question, 60 days is what the event data has been set for retention.
Awesome. Well, with that question and answer, I think we can go ahead and wrap up the presentation for today. Once again, I just want to thank you both, Bruce and Chris, for presenting this topic with our audience today. I hope that everyone found great value in the information and resources that were shared here today. And for our attendees, if you do have any additional questions about today's topic, we do encourage you to participate in our online post-webinar discussion. You are going to be redirected there upon exit, but the link has also been posted into the chat window there for your reference. So we do look forward to your participation if you do have any additional questions about the presentation from today. And a quick reminder that you will also receive a short pop-up survey as soon as you exit the session. And we would be so grateful if you can just take a minute to complete it and let us know how you like today's presentation. We always look forward to receiving your valuable feedback. And again, for those of you who are interested in revisiting this session, we do have the live stream available immediately for on-demand viewing, but we will also have the session posted in our learning plan for networking experiences within about 5 business days after today. And the links have also been posted into the chat window for your reference, but just in case you missed them, I'm going to go ahead and post them again momentarily for you right now. Thanks again to our presenters, to our panelists, and to all of our attendees for joining us here live today. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time on the Cisco Learning Network. Thank you all so much.